Hello and a very warm welcome to the late-breaking F1 podcast presented by Harry Eade, Sam Sage and me, Ben Hocking. Reviewing today the Canadian Grand Prix won by Max Verstappen.
Ooh.
It was a full complement of world champions on the podium, with Max Verstappen taking the win, Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin in second, and Lewis Hamilton in third. Means Max Verstappen not far outside of 200 points in the championship now, but the fight for second does seem to be hotting up, with less than a race win separating Perez, Alonso and Hamilton. Sam, shocking result.
For what bit, Ben?
The Verstappen win.
I mean, I was watching it with Harry, quite blown away at that one. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, well, you do seem shocked.
Audibly.
Sam's had lots of cups of teas.
My third one in the last hour and a half.
Buzzing.
It doesn't
Have
really
you been
affect
drinking the decafs or the calves?
the calves.
Oh my god!
It's a lot of calves.
Crikey!
Sorry to any calves out there. Yeah, honestly, was pretty surprised that Max Verstappen picked up the old winneroo. I did predict it, though, so looks like I should have made that my bold prediction. We got that one right.
They're getting closer.
They are.
Let's say that. They're getting a bit closer.
As close as we are to the sun.
Well, what are you saying that for, Harry? You've just answered the first question that we're alluding to on today's podcast.
You're welcome. Keep breaking late.
And we're speed
Bye-bye.
run. We're speed running a podcast. We should definitely do that.
After the news that we're dealing with 3T Sam, maybe it's a good idea, but we'll see how we get on. Coming up on today's episode, we'll be discussing Ferrari recovering back to P4 and P5, whether that was a good result for the team based on what happened in qualifying. George Russell goes away with no points from Canada after crashing from P4. Our discussions around that. And a bit of talk around the midfield as well. But we'll start with the race out front. Max Verstappen taking the race win, although the number of seconds between him and the rest of the field, less than what it was in Spain. So, Sam, do you think that the rest of the teams, the likes of Aston Martin and Mercedes, are they catching up with Max Verstappen and Red Bull, or was it a bit more track specific?
I don't think the catch-up is as big as a lot of people like to perceive it is. And I think even Max Verstappen wants someone to catch up to him. We were watching, obviously, the grid walk at the start, and Martin Brundle did catch up to him on the grid, and he kind of said, I do hope that someone challenges me soon. He's quite bored.
Man's laughing about nearly.
Man is, yes, he's giggling. He's like...
Knocked myself out there.
Literally turned into Lord Voldemort when he went over that curb. I've nearly crashed. You know, he's like that.
It was a Harry Potter reference today.
That is a Harry Potter reference. He was like, that was a lot of banter near the end of the whole race. That would have been funny. Nothing would have changed if I didn't finish this one.
GP's on the wall, on the pit wall.
Panic attack.
Please stop.
The P in GP stands for panic. It's quite frustrating, actually, because, they brought these upgrades. Both Aston Martin, Ferrari and Mercedes have brought serious upgrades to the cars, and the gap has barely changed, if at all. It looked like even when Max Verstappen was bleating on about his tyres not feeling good, the gap to Alonso was growing by 3 to 4 tenths every single lap. It just kept ticking up. So I think this was track specific. I think the slower speed corners mixed with the high speed straights that Canada possesses suit Red Bull down to the ground. This is almost a perfect circuit when it comes to what a Red Bull car is designed for. And realistically, I actually think that they were running easy. I think Max Verstappen was looking after the car. I think he was driving carefully for the most part. He didn't go for that fastest lap, which he so regularly likes to try and snatch in the last couple of laps of the race. He wasn't...
GP would die.
GP would
That's
die.
Why.
Yeah. Again, the P stands for panic. Max Verstappen often goes, what's the fastest lap? Can I grab it? He wasn't looking after it. And a lot of the time, talking about those tyres and just cruising to the end. And, at one point, GP came with the radio and went, yeah, they are pushing behind. They are having a battle, if you're interested, if that concerns you at all. Not bothered. He was so calm in the car today that actually, I think he was just taking it easy on the car after a certain point. So, I don't think the gap's particularly changed. I think actually the track suited Red Bull more than we think. And I think if you're going to go, well, Sergio Perez didn't do very well, it's because Sergio Perez was rubbish. So, that'll be why. Technical analysis.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm glad that was all right with you, Harry. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on this, Harry? I mean, it's, as Sam referenced, Sergio Perez did seem to be on pretty equal pace with the likes of Ferrari, Alonso and Hamilton, but Verstappen still seemed quite clear. Do you think this was a bit Canada specific, that he couldn't win by 20 seconds or 25 seconds? What did you reckon?
I don't know, because yes, that sounds right, and that Verstappen was probably managing for a fair bit of that, but then so was Alonso as well. So
Fair.
I think Alonso could have been closer by the end, but then equally, Max could have been quicker as well, which, you know, maybe the gap would just have stayed at that 7 second, 8 second mark anyway. I do think it was a bit closer. It's not enough, obviously, because Verstappen still won, but
He got pole position by 1.3 seconds.
That's weather specific.
But everyone else had the same weather he did.
No, but the thing is, this isn't not a Red Bull. That's not a Red Bull thing. That's a Max Verstappen thing.
Well, everyone else is going to be more Max Verstappen.
Sure.
Problem solved.
3-2 Sam strikes again.
Formula Verstappen. So yeah, I do think the gap has closed a little bit, but you know, it could fluctuate again by the time we get to Austria. But I do think this was another Verstappen. I don't think that car was. You look at them in practice, they're a bit nowhere, especially in FP1.
I mean, that doesn't matter come the race.
My point being that I don't think the pace was. It wasn't a Red Bull. I don't think this was a favourable track for Red Bull. I think it was a Verstappen being good at the F1.
Do you think also the safety car maybe diminished a lot of the gap that he started to build up before? It's 4 or 5 seconds again.
I mean, true. There's a part of that, but it didn't. You know, that came. When did that come out? That was
20 odd, 25,
18, something like that.
So it would have been what if it was a copy and paste. If you add the two gaps together, it would have been about 13 to 14 seconds, I think.
Anyway, that's still less than it's been.
True.
So yeah, I think gap has closed slightly. I just think Verstappen was very good again today.
He's all right at that, isn't he?
He is all right. I feel like today maybe more so than other races, especially compared to Perez. I know you're saying Perez was rubbish, but he's got the same car.
Yeah, so Perez was rubbish.
I know, but my point being is that maybe that is where the car should be for this racetrack, and Verstappen was.
Well, that's a fair point. Yeah, if you put two Perez's in the car, did Red Bull finish that race? I don't know, 6th and 7th.
That's what Max made that point himself in the.
He did. He said, "If I wasn't here, where would Red Bull be?" That's quite a very, a strong statement to make about your teammate.
He not wrong though.
He's factually true.
Alonso, I said this to Sam when we were watching. That Max Verstappen wasn't here this year, Fernando Alonso would have cleaned up. He'd be flying along.
He'd be out there with the bleach, scrubbing away.
Yeah.
I don't know. If Verstappen wasn't there, I think it'd be a fascinating fight between 3 different drivers from 3 teams at the moment.
I know, but I'm not saying he'd be dominating. But if he wins today, he wins Monaco.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as simple as just taking Verstappen off and that's your table either, because the points would change entirely on who gets rewarded what, right? Because Alonso will pick up several more wins than what he has. So, yeah, I mean, it would be a very fascinating thing. I think Max Verstappen is just too bloody good at what he does.
Yeah, I think it's all relative, isn't it? Because I think today, Red Bull and Max Verstappen, apart from Monaco probably, I think they were at their most vulnerable this season. And he still won so comfortably. We've had so many races this year. I think this was probably the second best chance for another team outside of Monaco to actually go ahead and take this victory. And even so, Max Verstappen's been leading races since Miami, just hasn't stopped. What can you do about that? And to your point about Perez, Sam, I don't disagree with you. And it's perhaps even more where if Verstappen was managing out front, Perez had no reason to manage. Perez had 2 Ferraris in front of him that were potentially gettable. So if Perez is going full guns and Verstappen is managing and Verstappen's still half a second a lap quicker on average, that ain't great. At least if they're both managing to equal sort of levels and that the gap is half a second, okay. But if one car should be going for it a lot more than the other one is, that gap would, in theory, be even bigger if Verstappen was attacking. So I think this was track-specific. I think Spain was utterly dominant. I think this was more dominant than I thought it was going to be. I don't think the gap is coming down. I don't actually think it is. I know that there was it 10 seconds, 12 seconds at the flat? I can't remember what the exact gap was back to Alonso at the end. But like I say, I thought it might be even less than that, just based on this track not suiting the Red Bull as much as, say, Spain did. So I think Verstappen can be pretty happy. And at this point, I think we need, F123, you have those podium emotes and those team radio messages that you can customize at the end where you go either woohoo or yeah. We need Verstappen's
I unlocked one the other day that said, I am so sore. Don't understand that.
That's great.
Why is that a thing?
It's like, oh, it's weird.
Point being, they just need a Verstappen one in there, which is just like, good day at the office, Max. Yep.
Just needs to come over. Again.
Christian Horner's one today was fairly like low key. It was just like, yep, thank you for producing a great win for us.
It was.
It's like me at the office. Thanks for doing your job as intended.
I don't know. You see the reactions to Nico Hülkenberg claiming P2 provisionally in qualifying and Alex Albon getting points finishes for Williams. And it's such ecstasy. And then you see Max Verstappen claiming another win. And yeah, job done.
I also loved in the cool-down room, Max was there talking to Lewis Hamilton and he was like, oh, you had quite a good last stint. Literally nowhere near Max Verstappen in the entire race. He was like, you look like you're having fun.
You patronising little bugger.
Literally. Like, were you watching me on the screen, were you? Were you that bored that you could just watch how good my stint was in the final run?
You must be happy with your P3. Yeah.
Oh, you a clever boy.
That's 15 points for you, Lewis. Well done.
Honestly. And then the fact that, it's that simple. And then, brother, you brought up the fact that, Perez was running at the same pace as Mercedes, as Ferrari, as the Aston. That is not good enough in that car. That is so below par. That is so bad for that car. If you can produce a performance around a track that doesn't suit his vehicle, Max Verstappen this is, and dominate by over 12, 15 seconds, it was a dominant performance. It never looked in doubt. Sergio Perez needs to be doing more. He's got as bad a record as Pierre Gasly has in qualifying this season over the same pitch of races, over 8 races, not making Q3 4 times. That's 50% of the time he's not into Q3. He's not fighting for podiums on a regular basis. And he was giving it all bigging earlier this season. I'm in the title fight. I'm coming for you, Max Verstappen. No, you're not, son. Sit down.
He was,
I think,
like an hour and a half.
Yeah, for 20 minutes, using it.
Perez's struggles relating to qualifying, I think, might well be something we get into in one of our next couple of episodes because there's probably more to say on that one. But yeah, Sergio Perez now only 9 points clear of Fernando Alonso and 24 points clear of Lewis Hamilton. So he's far closer to the guys behind him than he is to Max Verstappen in front at this point. Gap to Max Verstappen out front, 69 points.
Way, that is nice.
I know I shouldn't encourage 3
What are you doing, man?
What
are you doing?
I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, let's have a look at driver of the day, shall we? Who have you got, Harry?
Albon! I mean, obviously, Max was pretty good again.
Yeah, he was quite good.
Alonso was pretty good as well. Managed that issue, but Alex Albon in that rocket ship in a straight line, Williams. But having said that, I know that aided his P7.
Hey, make the most of your car.
Exactly. Run what you brung.
Love that. Get out of a t-shirt.
But he made those tyres. Sam was adamant that Albon was going to pit, and I bet him 20p.
I've lost 20p.
Oh, I would have had some of that action as well. I'm really annoyed I wasn't there.
I have lost 20p.
He was like, I mean, to be fair, it was him and Russell. Russell obviously retired, but to do that stint on those hard tyres, I know they lasted longer than maybe people thought, but everyone else was two-stopping. Albon's like, nah, mate.
Car can never be overtaken.
Let's just stay out.
Once you're behind me, you ain't getting in front of me.
Yeah, so Alex Albon for me, very, very impressive. Maybe that is aided by the upgrades, but, as I said, run what you brung.
Run what you brung on a Sunday night.
Oh my God.
Cheers, Sam.
Caffeine's hit hard.
Caffeine's really kicking in.
I'm also going to go for Alex Albon, but I'm going to extend it even further. Not just to Alex Albon's performance, not just to the upgrades that Williams brought. Can I just give it to the strategy team at Williams? Because they nailed it all weekend. Qualifying, nailed it. Alex Albon was fastest in Q2. And then here, like you say, everyone else is saying, we'll go for a second pit. Alex Albon, nope. And it worked. Even if Alex Albon had lost the position to, say, Esteban Ocon and Valtteri Bottas or Lance Stroll and he'd finished P9, say, that still would have been a better result probably than what he would have got if he'd pit at the same time as everyone else. So absolutely, this goes on Alex Albon for a great performance. That's why I'm giving him driver of the day. But to extend it further than that, the strategy team at Williams, great effort from them. Not just today, but also yesterday. Sam, your driver of the day.
Albon deserves a massive shout out. I'm going to mix it up just for some variation. I want to give a little shout out as well to big Valtteri Bot, the Bottas himself. It's good to see him turn up.
He fought well, didn't he?
He did. He did do well, considering how far back he
tried his hardest to lose a point right at the line.
Oh, and then Norris just slipped it back into him. There you go, mate.
Don't say that again.
Have that one under the table.
Oh my God.
I am going to give it to Max Verstappen. It was simply lovely from him. Always under control. And Ben's favourite stat of the moment, equaling Ayrton Senna's race victory total.
I don't really have much of an opinion on the stat. It's just I'm sure that it's going to lead to some really reasonable discourse.
And that's why it's his favourite.
No one is going to say anything ridiculous about this stat.
You hear Crofty encouraging people to talk to him on social media about it. You
Please don't.
Absolute madman.
Fair play to you, Crofty.
Yeah, brave.
I wouldn't want to be that.
Ooh.
From the best to the worst driver of the day, Harry Eid.
You don't play for jingles.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Oh, hang on.
3T Sam's on it.
I'm wired.
Get in the bin. Worst driver of the day. Bin. Worst driver of the day. You suck at driving.
Rocket driving, that's what you just said.
That'll work for worst driver of the day.
Worst driver of the day, for me, tricky.
Is it?
That Stroll wasn't amazing.
Nearly got to your prediction.
I know, but...
More on that in a moment.
Yeah, smug Ben over there.
Moron is correct.
Well, I mean, considering Alonso was P2, it wasn't great from him. George Russell.
Shouldn't crash your car.
Yeah,
George,
stay away from the walls.
Nick de Vries.
Shouldn't crash your car.
No to brake for corners.
I'll go for George Russell because arguably there was P4 on a platter for him today. If not, maybe P3. He binned it. So I'll go for Georgie Russ.
2 contenders from me. Harry's just said both of them. George Russell, what are you doing? 12 points. You're never going to see those again. And we'll discuss that crash a little bit later on. But I am going to give it to Nick de Vries. So the Turn 1 incident in itself was something.
Oh, God, no.
You need to leave a little bit of room for Kevin Magnussen. He was still there, mate. But didn't really...
Came out barging back on the way like, I'm still here.
Hello, I exist.
Yeah, Magnussen was definitely going to give that up. Of all the drivers on the grid to give up a spot, Magnussen is definitely a guy. So there was the turn... Well, I guess it's turn 2, isn't it? Turn 2 incident between those guys. But that wasn't it. Nick de Vries completely locking up, going into the next corner after that. It wasn't a great scene, was it? The 2 cars just sat there, not really knowing what to do. You can't, as Martin Brundle and others have mentioned, you can't really just spin around there either. You've just got to awkwardly reverse back onto the circuit. And Nick de Vries ended up a lap behind. It didn't look like it was going to end in points, which kind of only aids the point. But yeah, Nick de Vries... He wasn't very good again. Sorry. Sam?
Can I think of someone else that can make it a different answer? Because you two have...
Perez?
I mean... Yeah. Sergio.
3T Sam really wants to go in on Nick de Vries here.
I really do.
He was savage. I mean, we've recorded our reaction.
Oh, it was so horrible.
He was savage.
Oh, you've got video evidence of me ripping into Nick de Vries again, and it was
It
was full on. I can't give it to Perez. While he was slow, he didn't crash the car, nor did he crash anyone else off the track. I'm actually going to say George Russell, because he actually threw away something, whereas Nick de Vries was never going to score anything anyway.
Nothing to throw away.
No, I mean, how can you throw anything away when you have nothing in the first place? So, George Russell, you've let yourself down, you've let Mercedes down, and you've let whoever picked George Russell and teammate wars down.
Me.
Unlucky!
Quite happy I swapped this year.
Yeah, so am I. Oh, wait, I didn't swap, I got stuck. That's how it works.
Okay.
Good.
Big brain strategy.
Bob, we're gonna need you to box for wets. What? It's not even raining out. What are you talking about? Yeah, and Bob, if you get a chance, let your teammate pass you. What? He crashed out. He's not even in the race.
Sam, what have you got?
Lots of options actually this race. There were some very funny and interesting moments. I think my favourite is the constant paranoia from Carlos Sainz that he refused to stop because he knew that Ferrari would mess something up. You know, switch to red. No. I'm going to stay out.
Car's already red, mate.
Yeah, Car's we're painting it red at the start of the season. No thanks. Pass. Hard pass. Do not want to come in. Stay away from me. And then that just kind of went on for quite a long time. And then when he did stop, it was fine and actually worked quite well, and they moved up the grid. I just think that the mistrust that the drivers have. Leclerc didn't even speak this race. Just didn't talk to anyone.
I don't think he was there.
I just think he went.
It was Jacques Villeneuve.
Oh, with his helmet on.
His
There's
helmet.
no way you think that was Jacques Villeneuve because he raced quite well. Folks,
when Martin Brundle did the grid walk and Jacques Villeneuve bounding into the TV, Harry literally went, "Oh, why?" He erupted with disgust. Yeah, go for me. Carlos Sainz, absolutely despising his own pit wall, is up there.
It's a really good one.
I'll go with a Ferrari one as well, somewhat related to Carlos Sainz, which was Charles Leclerc's radio message to him just every 5 laps or so to say, Carlos isn't going to attack you. And it was relevant the first couple of times, but I'm pretty sure they said it at one point when he was about 3 seconds clear. It's like, he can attack if he wants. He isn't anywhere near me, is he?
We had a running theory that he was going to do it after the race.
Physical.
So he's going to get out and attack you, not from behind, is what someone said at one point. So he'll just come at you from the front.
I mean, Charles Leclerc had nothing to worry about because he was ahead of Carlos Sainz and not behind him.
Exactly. Good job, Ferrari. It's your turn, Harry.
Go on,
Oh,
Harry.
my God. My one is not... I mean, they're both very valid. Mine's not Ferrari related. Mine goes to Alpine and Pierre Gasly. What are you starting on? The soft store, lads?
I'd call that.
Not when 10 laps in went, this doesn't work.
It has not worked. Yeah.
Only lap 2.
All the predictions were for a medium hard, either 1 or 2 stop. A lot of people that did do 2, apart from our one. Yeah, but Alpine were like, nah.
Those bad boys wanted a
Gasly
safety
starting
car,
near the
didn't they?
back.
They wanted a safety car.
We'll go for a soft.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Nah. Well, they must have thought, we might as well try something different given we're so far back. But both Bottas and Stroll managed to score points. And they basically started where Gasly did. So if you just stuck with something a bit more normal, you might have got something.
I mean, they only scored points thanks to Norris's unsportsmanlike behaviour.
Very naughty boy.
Oh, you're a very naughty boy.
Okay. Bold predictions. As you know, we've been on.
Do we have to do this one this
I
week?
think I'm irrelevant.
It's on the schedule, therefore we have to do it. That's the
Sam
rule.
called it boring. Okay.
I won't say what I said. So, Bob, we went on a bit of a streak recently. Harry has somehow managed to get 2 in a row. Could he get 3 in a row?
No.
Well,
Nope.
he said that an Aston Martin would be on the podium.
Way.
Not that one, though.
Oh.
Lance Stroll did manage to score a point, but not a podium.
That's what I meant.
You're very close.
That's straw on the point.
Master plan.
Sam said that Yuki Tsunoda would finish in the top 8.
Yeah.
He promptly had probably his worst race of the season.
Yeah. I am like a walking curse.
Yeah.
I need to do something really rogue, like a backwards bold prediction next time.
And despite Williams and Alex Albon making me very nervous in the later stages of that Grand Prix, holding on with everything that he has, my bold prediction was that he'd finish in the top 8, and he finished 7th.
Cool. All right, anyway, so
Yay.
moving on to the next point of the podcast.
What does that make it now? Are you on 4, Ben?
I'm on 4. Harry, you're still safe at the moment, though. You're on 2.
That's safe.
How did I lead
Sam has
out of...
more teas than he has bold predictions, right, I'm afraid.
To be fair, I'd rather have the tea.
Fair.
Okay.
It's tasty.
I mean, I'm still next to you. I'd rather you didn't have the teas. And my teas.
It's rude.
Anyway, we'll take our first break. We'll be discussing Ferrari after this.
We only at our first break.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, everyone.
So Ferrari didn't exactly have a great day in qualifying on Saturday. Charles Leclerc unable to make Q3. Carlos Sainz was able to make Q3, but a 3-place grid penalty meant that he might as well not have. Both of them starting just outside the top 10, but they did recover in the Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc ending up P4 after a pretty good start, and Carlos Sainz ending up P5. They went with a bit of a different strategy versus the rest of the field. They started on medium tyres, opted not to pit when everyone else did when the safety car made an appearance, instead going a bit longer into the Grand Prix before they went onto the hard tyres. Ended up working for them, I think, to end up claiming 12 points and 10 points respectively. So, Sam, first of all, if we focus on the race itself, did they, based on their starting positions, get everything they could have out of the Grand Prix?
I was quite surprised at the result of that strategy because if we're going to come out and be honest here, we did mock them quite loudly when they didn't pit under the safety car.
Yeah, hard agree. I thought they should have at least pit one of them.
The words that Harry said was, Ferrari trying the no-stop strategy.
I did it in that voice as well.
Yeah. So we talked
That
about
sounds
on the podcast.
exactly like Harry.
No, sorry, it was more like, Ferrari trying the no-stop strategy.
Also sound like that, yeah.
How is that one worse?
It wasn't worse, it's just West Country. My point being here, I'm a little bit flabbergasted that they actually called it right, and despite Carlos Sainz's best attempts to never see the pit lane, it all went very well for them. The constant threats to Charles Leclerc that he might be attacked by Carlos Sainz were, of course, worrying, but I think they managed to get pretty much everything out of this Grand Prix that they could have without the threat of someone retiring in front of them. I don't think it could have gone any better for them. I think they made it work. They didn't burn out their tyres. There were no silly business going on with terms of silly moves or diving into the pit lane. Or we even said, why aren't you splitting the strategy? They didn't need to. I don't think it could have gone any better for them. And I think they would have just lost points. So on the Sunday, just the Sunday, they actually did a very good job. They made the most of it.
Harry, do you think they got everything they could out of that one?
Yeah, I think recovery-wise, yes. It probably would have been 5th and 6th, wouldn't it, if Russell hadn't creamed himself into the wall.
Oh, God.
What?
Nothing wrong with that.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong with a good creaming.
Context.
Right, there's nothing, you can't do that, though.
First context was fine. Second context, not so fine.
But I think, yeah, they would have been 5th and 6th, which I think that's just probably just where their car is. I mean, Ben, you not to go in at you because you got your bold prediction right, but you did say that Ferrari were going to be main challengers this weekend.
I think they would have been.
If what?
If they had a dry quali, I think they would have been.
I think they weren't even very good in the
They didn't
race.
get close to Mercedes or Aston Martin.
Yeah. Okay, here's what I think would have happened. I think they would have qualified well, as they always do, and they just would have been really difficult to overtake.
I think Ben's wrong. I'm not going to let you have this one.
Agree.
The Rosses are coming. They've gone.
It's not that bad a take.
Yeah, so I think it was a good enough recovery for Ferrari, but they were just sort of when they got to 4th and 5th, that was it. I mean, they were beating Perez, but
Not hard.
at the moment, no, not difficult. But it was a fine recovery, and I do understand the call from Ferrari to Sainz to don't attack Leclerc. Don't understand why they said it so often, but
Every 3 laps.
it was probably for getting some solid points on the board. It was probably the right way. And as you said earlier, Ben, he wasn't even that close to attack him anyway. So they finished in the right order. It was some solid points for Ferrari, but it's I just think that's what I know. You think they'd been P2, but I think that's where they were this weekend.
Yeah, it felt like as soon as they got into P4 and P5, it was kind of a stalemate from there. Just everyone apart from Verstappen. Really, Alonso, Hamilton, the Ferraris, Perez, didn't seem like there was much between all 5 of them in terms of pace. Verstappen was clear of them all. But yeah, I think they probably got everything out of the race that they could have done, realistically. I was surprised they didn't. Well, I'm not surprised with anything when it comes to Ferrari, but if it were me, I think I probably would have started one of the 2 Ferraris on the hard tyres, as a few of the other guys behind them did. Obviously, they both went mediums. I thought that medium and hard split the strategies at the beginning would have been the better idea. I don't think it would have ended up mattering because we know that's the strategy Perez did, and he kind of got to the same-ish spot that they did. So I don't think it would have mattered in the end. But yeah, I'm so proud of them for that call in the race. Well done. I wasn't lambasting them at the time. I was a bit, I don't know about this one. I was on the fence because I just wasn't sure one way or the other. But just based on what we saw from the likes of Nico Hulkenberg, I know Haas use up their tyres far quicker than everyone else. But the fact that Nico Hulkenberg was struggling with his medium tyres after 15 laps, and the fact that Ferrari nearly went 40, I don't know. I didn't know if that was going to happen when the safety car came out. So as soon as it did, I was like, well, if they fall off a cliff in the next 5 laps, they've just ruined their race completely. But of course, they were able to go like 15 laps longer, overcut everyone else who pit under the safety car, and it worked out well for them. So I think it was actually quite a bold call from them, actually. It wasn't the obvious strategy, and actually it was probably the better strategy because we saw with the likes of Leclerc, he couldn't really overtake many cars in that sort of DRS train that they were all involved in. So if he'd have pit under the safety car, he'd probably just been out there doing exactly the same thing, just on hard tyres instead of medium tyres. So the fact that they were able to gain the gap, overcut them all, was the right play. Well done, Ferrari. That's the positive. Saturday.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
What did you make of Ferrari's qualifying woes on Saturday, Sam? Firstly, in terms of Charles Leclerc not being able to make Q3, and then also Carlos Sainz not being able to stay out of the way of other cars.
So,
Way, son.
yeah, get out of the bloody way. So I'm not going to be all entirely brutal to just Ferrari, because I do think some of the onus is on the drivers themselves for what happened on that Saturday. For example, Charles Leclerc obviously made the call, put me on the slick tyres the same time that Albon was for the slick tyres, and that would have been, a great call, and Ferrari were stupid to listen to that. But at that point, Leclerc is already outside of the top 10. He's in the drop zone. Every other driver has managed to put in a good enough lap in the wet on intermediates that have seen them go into the top 10. Hamilton was a bit sketchy. He was on that cut-off line, but you've got the likes of his teammate, Carlos Sainz. Verstappen was in there. Alonso was in there comfortably. You've got drivers that shouldn't be in that top rung that are also in there on those tyres that he had access to and he was on. He should have been faster onto the intermediates. Moving away from Charles Leclerc's probably slightly poor performance there, he's cool for the softs, and whilst he was poor on the inters, that would have been his saving grace. That would have been the redemption moment. He would have gotten a good enough lap if they'd done it at the exact moment that he asked for, that even if he was slower than Albon, Ferrari slower than Williams this season, on actual pace, it could happen. He would have been through. He would have been into Q3, and both himself and Carlos Sainz would have been comfortably through to Q3. Great, you can then kind of reassess and go again. So, absolute shocker. Absolute, set it on fire, put it in the bin decision. It was that bad from Ferrari. And then with Carlos Sainz, firstly, mate, why are you just stopping in the middle of the road? What are you doing there? It's not a car park. We're not driving around Ascot looking for a space, going in to get our whirly bars. You're on a racetrack. You're going really quick, and there's lots of people going really quick around you, so get out the way or go faster. And pasta makes you go faster, so you should have plenty, mate, because you're all Italian. You're not, you know what I mean? You're Spanish, but you get it.
Sure.
But also, on that, though, it's not just Sainz's fault, as much as he could have got the car properly out of the way. And I'm amazed he only got 1 3-place penalty, because it felt like he should have had, 105 grid penalties for how many people he got in the way of. Also, Ferrari need to communicate better. They need to tell Carlos where the other cars are on the track. How close are they to him on the track? Where he should be slowing down on the track. It's a wet track. There's a lot of spray. It's bad visibility. We saw Lewis Hamilton complaining that he couldn't see his mirrors due to how dirty they were getting. The same thing could be true for Carlos Sainz. You need to have top-level communication, and it sounds like he wasn't getting any of it. It just became dangerous. He became a literal rolling roadblock that he could have caused. I'm surprised there wasn't an accident, especially in that last corner going into the final chicane, where we saw, Gasly have to take to the off-road, another car went around the outside of him. It was a real tragedy of poor communication and strategy put together, and Ferrari will just... They played a real heavy part in their drivers failing to get anywhere up the grid on that Saturday, but it wasn't just Ferrari. The drivers themselves were also not up to standard. All-round Saturday was a shocker from Ferrari.
Harry, what did you make of Saturday?
Wasn't ideal, was it?
Good one.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. Yeah, I agree with all of the points Sam just made. And if you're right, Ben, the pace in Ferrari was enough to be P2, then it's their own bloody fault that they were 4th and 5th. Because what were they doing on Saturday? And it reminded me of Brazil last year when we had similar issues with Leclerc on Inters and should he be on slicks. There is a serious problem, and Sam's mentioned already with communication. I think it's a widespread thing in that team. Both communicating where your driver is, where other drivers are on the track to your driver, or what tyres they should be on. Having said that, I do agree that Leclerc should have done more because his time did get through to Q3. And it goes. I know you'd like to not mock. We enjoy George Russell's team radio, but his
Bit bent.
It's bent, mate.
It's a bit bent, mate. But his forcefulness, shall we say, on trying to dictate what the strategy is, I do think Leclerc could
results.
Learn a bit from that.
It gets
What was
results.
it, like lap 3 or lap 4 that he was on team George Russell, this is, on team radio, strategy update, please, as soon as possible.
Yeah. Just thinking about it.
The guy is already like, how is this working for me? How's this going to pan out? What are the next 70 laps looking like? He knows where he's at.
I get there's a lack of trust. Well, there might be a bit of a lack of trust between Leclerc and the strategy, but what they're doing now is like half-heartedly not making the right decision. Where someone should just be like, no, I want these tyres now. Put them on.
Yeah, and they need to say before the race, someone X person has final call. And then they take responsibility. Give Leclerc final call until he makes a muck up of it, and then maybe reevaluate.
Yeah, it's Today was good, but
only good because it was so bad.
Exactly.
Yesterday.
Today was where they should have been, but Saturday was bad.
As you know, I absolutely love ripping Ferrari to shreds when they mess up.
Call them the
it's one of my
human shredder.
favourite pastimes. In fact, it is my favourite pastime. I don't think there's anything I enjoy more than it. And I've done it plenty of times over the years on this podcast. But shockingly, I'm not going to do it today because I don't think Ferrari are really to blame at all on this one.
Whoa.
What? I think this is 90%, 95% on the drivers. Let's go with Leclerc first of all. I think you're absolutely right. It was on Leclerc to get the lap in on the intermediates. Now, he was absolutely right in what he said, that he should have been on the slicks at the same time as Alex Albon. Got that. 13 other drivers also weren't on those tyres at that time. So he might well have been right, but he wasn't the only one who was wrong. Right? Just bear in mind, you've already mentioned Brazil last year in terms of intermediate slicks and that whole discussion, right? We ridiculed Leclerc and Ferrari at the time because he was the only one on that compound of tyre. Here, he wasn't. It was only Alex Albon who was trailblazing. Everyone else was pretty much on the same strategy as Charles Leclerc was on. Carlos Sainz put together a lap on the softs. He got it done. Charles Leclerc didn't. They were on pretty much the same run plan. The only difference was Carlos Sainz was able to hook up one, not perfect lap, but one good enough lap. And Charles Leclerc had about 2 or 3 laps, which were very similar in terms of pace. But for whatever reason, he just couldn't put together the good sectors into one lap. And he was knocked out as a result. I don't think that's on the team at all. Yes, Charles Leclerc was right in terms of the strategy. But hey, Red Bull didn't do it. Aston Martin didn't do it. Mercedes didn't do it. It's not like Ferrari were by themselves in that strategy plan. And the whole incident about Carlos Sainz, and I think this is something we'll get into in a future episode in terms of these types of impeding penalties. They're becoming quite frequent, and whether we think they're actually harsh enough and what we do about them to make sure they're not as frequent as they are becoming. But at least if we're talking about this one specifically, Ferrari told Carlos Sainz twice, you need to get on with it in that final sector. He didn't listen to the team and he paid the price.
Get on with it.
Dawdling.
He was dawdling. The team radio, it was absolutely fine. They told him, you need to get on with it. You can't be slow in the final sector. And he got punished for it. And Gasly, I don't want to get too much into the whole debate about it, but Gasly saying that he should be banned because he's coming at 300 kilometers an hour, it's seriously dangerous. Yuki Tsunoda had to take evasive action because Carlos Sainz was still in front of him. So I think Sainz's penalty is 100% on him. I think Charles Leclerc not making Q3 is 90% still on him. And actually, the team, I'm going to say that they're okay on this one.
What's happened to Ben?
I mean, to be fair, though, I was starting to debate this today. It feels like Ferrari are feeling ropey. It felt like Sainz and Leclerc were their saving grace. It felt like, okay, Ferrari was struggling, but you knew the lineup was safe. What is going on in the team? It feels like Charles Leclerc has had enough. I know we kind of joke about free Leclerc from Ferrari prison, but it does actually feel like he's kind of throwing in the towel a little bit. And Carlos Sainz has just never really got up to standard to make the difference at the team. So if Leclerc bails, I don't know if Sainz has got what it takes to really lead Ferrari into this new era anyway. Together, at their best, they're a great lineup, but I don't think they're committed to it anymore.
Ferrari's woes go far further than just strategy at this point, and I do think it includes the drivers. Think Australian Grand Prix. Both of them ruined their own race, the drivers. Charles Leclerc in Miami. He binned it in Q3. I'm not saying the team is blameless. Long way from that. But if we're looking at the list of issues that Ferrari have at the moment, the driver lineup's on there. I'm not saying it's the wrong driver lineup, but they are making errors that other teams maybe aren't making as much.
Yeah, whilst Ferrari drivers are making errors, you've got drivers like Albon, Hulkenberg in the qualifying session we just saw. Haas are regularly up there at the moment. Alonso is dominating. The Alpines are starting to trickle in. Even McLaren are starting to step up there a little bit. And Ferrari just seem to continually fall by the wayside in terms of good, solid drives that you can be happy with.
Fair play to them on the day, though.
Apart from today.
Yeah. They did have, well, with Russell crashing and with Stroll only scoring a point, they did still end up as the second best team on the Sunday, points-wise. Maybe not in terms of pace, but yeah, two cars in the top 5 did help them out in that respect.
They still got it.
Speaking of George Russell, we'll be talking about him right after this. Okay, so we're going to talk Mercedes now. Lewis Hamilton claiming a second consecutive podium today, which takes him over the 100-point margin, 102 points to his name now. But with no points today, George Russell still stuck on 65. So a bit of a gap emerging between the two Mercedes drivers this season. George Russell in a pretty comfortable P4, pretty close to both Alonso and Lewis Hamilton, but unfortunately crashing the car at turn 9. Did end up making it back to the pits and being competitive for a while, but ended up in a retirement not too far from the end. Sam, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton. George Russell at this point last season had a clear advantage points-wise. It's completely flipped this season. Are you at all worried based on the crash today and that points margin?
I'm worried is too far a stretch, I think. But I do think that George is having almost like the second season slump that you seem to sometimes get. I think it also comes in a counteractive point that Lewis Hamilton is no longer the sole supplier of teams trying experimental setups and parts in a car that they had no idea if they were going to work or not. And I do think that Mercedes have pivoted towards a Lewis Hamilton style of car development, R&D, car setups. And once Lewis gets comfortable in a car, well, it's Lewis Hamilton,
Favoritism.
That's it, mate. It's favouritism.
Yeah.
You've nailed it. Mercedes love him. I mean, understandably, he's won a lot of races. My point here being is once things start falling in Lewis Hamilton's direction, it's incredibly hard to stop them falling in Lewis Hamilton's direction. He is quite literally like, the boulder in Indiana Jones that rolls down towards you? Imagine George Russell with his little legs trying to run away from that.
His little legs?
Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
It's got big legs.
Nice.
Yeah. So, my point here being is I think the team last season had a bit of a wide spread on what they were backing and where they were going. I think they were lost, and I think Lewis Hamilton bore the forefront of all of that. Whereas this time around, I think it's more shared on who has to deal with what, and I think development is going Hamilton's way. That being said, that car is obviously drivable. George Russell is obviously capable, and you would like to think that in his second year at the team, and this isn't like he was a rookie last year either. He's been in the sport now for 5 years? This is his 5th season. You'd realistically think that mistakes like this, which are mistakes that people like De Vries didn't do this, Stroll didn't do this.
I mean,
I'm not. Yeah, but you see my point, right? My point is here, no one else just drove into the wall. Not a single other person. George Russell is meant to be a safe pair of hands. He's meant to be, the next step for Mercedes. He's meant to be the prodigy child that is going to come and lead the team after Hamilton steps away. This feels like he's just thrown away points. And that gap is becoming... vast is maybe too stretch of a word. Maybe we should get the Amazon distance measurer out that they use in Canada to measure the Wall of Champions.
We're going with not so close.
Yeah, not so close. 40 points or whatever it is. At the end of the day, this is quite a big gap for considering that they're not winning races and we're only, 8 proper races into the season now. I would expect him to be closer, especially how well he did last season. I thought he would kick on. Disappointing, but not like, oh my God, George Russell is never going anywhere ever again. I just think he's had a bit of a scruffy start to the season. I think he'll pick it up. I would be surprised if the gap, really extends far beyond this point.
What do you think, Harry?
Yeah, I'm not worried. Nah.
Yeah, you are.
Well, I mean, yes, I am worried for my team prediction, but teammate world prediction. But I'm
he was doomed from the start, really, wasn't he?
Constantly worried about that. So, today was bad from George. Wasn't great, and there have been a couple of incidences this season now, mistakes from George. Monaco, when I think the podium was on the cards.
Yep.
Which he needs to iron out. But the reason I'm not worried is his pace is he's there or thereabouts with Lewis, but the difference being that Lewis ain't making them mistakes because he's a seven-time world champ.
No
so
for that yet.
It's stop doing that, George, because otherwise the gap's going to get bigger. Stop crashing into walls, going off the road.
Open the book.
Yeah,
it's on there. Paper.
It's in there.
It's in there. So yeah, I'm not worried. It's as Sam said, it's disappointing from George, and generally, I know he had the massive crash with Bottas back in Imola. Generally, he's not a driver that really tends to crash his cars that often.
And the Zhou Guanyu one.
And the Zhou...
Silverstone.
All right, that was a big one, though.
He's had a couple of big ones,
I know. But anyway, apart from those, he doesn't... in his career so far from 2019, can't really think of that many times George has been binning it on his own. So today, I think, was bad, but it's a rare one, so I'm not too worried. But yeah, stop doing that, George.
Stop.
Don't do that anymore. Yeah, I think pace-wise, I think the same thing that I've thought since the start of last season. Pace-wise, I don't think there's anything in it between the Mercedes pair. I think Lewis Hamilton and George Russell have been on even pace since the beginning of last season. Now, at the beginning of last season, we know George Russell had the points advantage. To your point, Sam, I think experimental setups in Lewis Hamilton's camp was probably a large reason because of that. And this season, again, I still think the pace is pretty much the same, but George Russell mistakes have been creeping in where they just haven't been for Lewis Hamilton. Think of the last 3 races. You've already mentioned Monaco. Monaco definitely had the pace there. It was an error induced by himself that caused him not to finish on the podium. Spain, he had good pace. He had good pace around the circuit to Catalonia, but when you start outside the top 10, it's tough to be on a level playing field with your teammates. So
helps when you can't turn one though.
Yes,
that's all right. But he was quick. He was quick around Spain. So pace-wise, I don't think there was anything in it there. And today, he was right behind Alonso and Hamilton. He was right in that fight. It's not like he crashed when he was 10 seconds behind the duo. He was within a second of both of them. So, I think pace-wise, there's nothing to be concerned about. It's just ensuring that these, I'd say small issues, they're not small issues, bigger issues, but not all that frequent, just need ironing out. And I think they will over time. And I agree with Sam in that I don't expect this points gap will extend out much further than what it is right now. I think eventually, I think some of these results are going to go Russell's way. I just think it's somewhat of a reverse of what happened last season. Last season, it seemed as if more often than not, George Russell got better luck than Lewis Hamilton did. And I'm not saying this year is completely luck as to why Russell's behind Hamilton, but I think eventually when some of these issues become ironed out, he'll end up claiming a few results and he'll get back in the fight. So I'm not overly concerned. Long term, I'm not concerned.
Also, to be fair to George Russell, Fernando Alonso hit the wall at the exit of turn 4. And if that was probably, a 1 second longer bit of contact, his race would have been over. It's a bit luck of the draw.
That's just Fernando Alonso, mate.
He's just playing with fire.
Yeah, he does.
N-dubs.
Living on the edge.
No.
Is that an N-dubs reference?
Yeah.
Dappy.
Daffy.
Giga
Chag Alonso, a.k.a. N-dubs.
I really hope you enjoyed that one, Talisa. I know you're a big fan of the
This
podcast.
is so British.
Talisa. Oh, wow.
I know you didn't.
Sorry, I was going to bring up an X Factor reference there, but I'm not going to go ahead with that.
Go
Go
on.
on.
Do it.
Do you remember what Gary Barlow once said to her?
No, I think you should refresh our memories, Ben.
I can't remember exactly what the quote was. That's the problem. But I remember what he was saying, though. Did he say she had fag breath or something?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, you can't say that on the podcast. That's getting cut.
It's not. I'm editing it.
That word can be very much misconstrued.
Yeah, but it's what
not in that
cigarettes.
context.
I say it in public conscience, yes, but I just feel like with our audience, that's no.
This is all staying in.
Fine.
What, fag breath?
Fine. It means cigarettes, folks,
Yes.
if you're unaware.
Do you remember Ablisa?
What?
There was these two girls. Don't YouTube it. Two girls. One's called Abby. One's called
Oh,
Lisa.
and they did an audition.
We're Ablisa.
Oh, it's there. Okay, yeah.
I love X Factor auditions. The one where that old tried to puncture.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ablisa.
that's the same thing, yeah. Oh.
Anyway,
This has
Right,
gone
we're-
on a tangent.
We are moving on. Let's have a bit of a chat about the midfield, shall we? Because we like to give the midfield their roses. And Alex Albon, P7. We knew that upgrades were coming for Albon this weekend, but not for Sargent. Seemed to work out all right for him. 6 points, puts them closer to both Haas and Alfa Romeo in the Constructors' Championship. How impressive was Albon for you out there today, Sam?
He was sensational. All weekend, absolutely sensational. I was blown away by, both. It was not just the pit wall that decided the Q2 strategy to put him onto slicks. Obviously, he's got to do it. He's got to execute it. He's got to make the call and be happy with it. And he bloody delivered. Like, what a performance that was through qualifying. And then in the race again, they just nailed the strategy time after time. But it's all, well and good nailing the strategy. But if you're not delivering with the pace and the ability on track, his ability to offend lap after lap from the absolute wobbly rear wing that is, Esteban Ocon, and it was a bit of a wobble.
just Greg Wallace.
Thank you, Greg Wallace. Slightly terrifying, Lando Norris trying to just send the dives. You've got Valtteri Bottas, Lance Stroll's hot on your heels. The pressure was absolutely on. And when, Gordon Ramsay's in the audience, if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. That man is leading it.
Big boy.
Michelin star drive, that was. Genuinely think that was one of his best drives that he's ever put in a Formula One car. I was absolutely blown away by how good he was this weekend. That Williams, despite having its upgrades and them, I think, working, I still don't really think that car should be finishing 7th place. I do think that it probably should have fallen down the order, and only because of his constant great exits on worse tyres was he able to really hang on to those positions. He really utilised the strengths of the car where they were needed. So, unreal from Albon this weekend.
Yeah, he was great. Full stop. That's about it.
Period.
Again, I think the strategy really played into this, but yeah, he still had to execute and he still had to keep all the other cars at bay, which he was able to do. I just think overall, Williams really understand their car in terms of what it's good at and what it's not good at. What it's good at is being very quick in a straight line. So when you are looking at different strategies to play, you play the strategies that are going to suit your car, which is what they did. They realized that, yes, all these other drivers can come in for their second pit stops, but it doesn't matter if they can't overtake us, because we're so quick in a straight line. He didn't need the DRS to stay clear of these guys. So the fact that you've got driver and upgrades and strategy all working in unison with one another, that's how you need to play it when you're in the midfield, and they were rewarded as a result. We've spoken this year about there are going to be tracks where Williams are not going to score any points. Monaco was one of... We knew that going into Monaco, Williams didn't have a chance at points. And there are going to be some circuits later in the year that's probably going to be the same case again. Hungary, probably not going to score any points there, as an example. But these tracks, like Canada And like Monza coming up
Bring
later
on
in the
Monza.
year,
They're winning Monza.
They're winning it.
they will win Monza.
They just won't have wings.
We're waiting for Red Bull to not win a race this season. Monza, Alex Albon, guarantee it.
No appendicitis this time, please, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, please. That hurts. Only have that once, really, can't you?
Good. Dr. Sam.
Cheers, Sam. Yeah, it was great. Well done, Alex. Do you want to add to the congratulations, Harry?
Yeah. Well done.
Good. Let's move on.
Cool. What about McLaren? They didn't score any points. They probably should have done. They had both cars in the points. Obviously, they both qualified in the top 10. They had both cars in the top 10 for the first half of the Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri ended up falling outside of that. And Lando Norris did finish inside the top 10. But unsportsmanlike behaviour meant that he did not finish in the top 10. Sam, what were your thoughts on McLaren as a whole, and I guess the Lando Norris penalty?
Slow as balls.
Oh my... They're so slow in
a straight line. They suck.
DRS, ERS, pull out the slipstream, still can't get past.
I'm literally falling backwards.
I'm going slow.
Lando Norris is planting moves from 3 miles away.
He got
he
it.
knows there's no chance.
It's like the brakes are my only hope. Honestly, the fact that Williams, utilised that we're fasting a straight line strategy brilliantly. McLaren are quite literally the opposite. Please no straights. Please only turns, because they suck at anything that is more than about 80 metres in a straight line. It's not good for them. And that they didn't play into their strategies at all. The safety car backfired for them. Piastri, what happened to him? He was looking really positive for a little while and just continually got overtaken, passed left, right and centre. No severe damage, nothing really wrong with the car. He just really fell by the wayside. And Lando Norris, penalty for unsportsmanlike behaviour. Now, whilst Ted did bring up a bit of an argument about it, that you shouldn't give him a penalty because he's a nice guy.
Nice boys don't get penalties.
I don't care. He deserves the penalty because he didn't follow the rules, and that is why penalties are applied. But I think they need to be more specific with their description of why he got the penalty. He got the penalty because he backed up the pack too much under safety car because they wanted to double stack, which strategically, yes, makes a lot of sense, but it is obviously against the rules to go that slow. My point being here, he deserved the penalty. He should have just got on with the fact they have to double stack, and he might be delayed by a second or so going into the pit lane. He's learnt his lesson, he's been punished for it, and he's paid the price. And he's throwing away what I think was I think he still would have got points at the end of that race had he just double stacked normally behind Piastri. I think the 1 or 2 seconds he would have lost in that process wouldn't have made a difference around the Ocon-Albon battle that he was going through. I think he would have carved through quite comfortably as he did anyway. So, bit silly, throwing away 2 points. Piastri not really good enough at the back end of the race. It all just fell apart. They had a really good Saturday. They really capitalised on the wet weather and the struggles of others, and it just disappeared. It shows that the car's natural pace is still not good enough to really be getting regular, even fringe points every single weekend.
Yeah, you're right. It did seem to be going well for Oscar Piastri early on, in that he managed to make an overtake into turn 2 that was really clinical.
Saucy.
It was a saucy overtake that Lando Norris couldn't do for quite a few laps, and he was able to build a bit of an advantage. He and Ocon managed to get past, but no one else could. He was able to build a bit of an advantage, and I thought, this is exactly what Piastri needs and McLaren needs. I thought they were going to be slower than they were out there today because of all those straights. As you say, they're not very good at them. But they seem to have reasonable-ish pace, even in spite of that. And the fact that they just weren't able to take advantage of it is so disappointing. With Piastri, didn't work out. I know he dropped back a place. And he tried to make an overtake into the last corner, had to go to the escape. Right, he managed to get the place back anyway because Albon did the same thing, but that wasn't great. And Lando Norris, he deserved the penalty. They should have been more specific about it, sure, but that doesn't take away the fact that he deserved it. So, disappointing for them. They probably should have scored 3-4 points between them. Ended up with nothing. And the reality is it's probably not going to matter. What I can envisage happening this season is Alpine are going to be too far clear for McLaren to catch, and McLaren are going to be too good for everyone else below them, in which case these sorts of finishes might not end up mattering. But even so, you want to build up that insurance.
Williams are coming, mate.
They are. At Monza.
They get a wing, and that'd be enough points to see them finish 5th.
Disappointing is the correct word. I just felt like they were both scrapping away all race, and they've walked away with the square root of Jack.
What's that?
Nothing.
Ah.
Jay.
Sorry, Gax.
So, yeah, disappointing for McLaren. I kind of felt a bit bad for them, but you're right. It's to be honest, it's both down to the drivers. I think the strategy was right. They kind of looked like they had the car. I mean, Lando's pace was still pretty good even towards the end. But yeah, Norris's penalty was fair. Them's the rules. Them's the brakes, as someone once said.
The brakes.
And Piastri, yeah, whilst he looked good, he did fall off towards the end and made that mistake by going off, trying to make the overtake, but cutting the chicane, which cost him. So, yeah, it was a disappointing one for Maka, because I think they probably should have been both in the points given where they started and the pace they had today.
So much for that triple crown.
They're working on it.
Living up to that name.
We're not getting back onto that again. Okay, we're going to take one last break for this episode. We'll be discussing our moments of the race right after this. We have, of course, got some Discord submissions for moment of the race, but before we get to those, we're each going to give our one. Harry, what have you got?
There are quite a few here. But the one I'm going to go for, because I already know what Sam's is.
Good.
Is Fernando Alonso. He's made a lot of moments of my season.
Moments of the season.
But Fernando Alonso absolutely trying to play the dramatic foul, in the penalty box when Lewis Hamilton is released in front of it. Well, it wasn't an unsafe release, obviously, but him in the car, like, jiggling the steering wheel, just go, whoa, hang on.
Jesus.
Classic Fernando. So there are quite a few from this race, but I know you two have got other ones, but I enjoyed that a lot. Also, De Vries and Magnussen trying to reverse. Tragic.
So slow.
Tragic.
You could play that bit of music over it that goes like...
But yeah, that one for me.
A good one. Sam?
Mine is literally the next step on from Harry's moment of the race. Step off! Thank you, Jack Black. Where Fernando Alonso, of course, overreacts to Lewis Hamilton coming out very close to his car. Cut to Toto Wolff mocking Fernando Alonso. Ooh, I can move my steering wheel. Honestly.
Taking tips from Show Guan Yu, isn't it?
Absolutely hilarious. It is sassy. It is taking the mickey. I loved it. Also, brilliant job from the cameraman to be like, cut Toto Wolff being a little bit of a poo bag.
Mick Schumacher standing behind him, miserable.
I hate my life. What have this become? So yeah, for me, Toto Wolff actually picks up my moment of the race because I just thought it was hilarious. Want to see more of that?
I love that as well. Nick De Vries, Kevin Magnussen was hilarious. Probably the funniest bit from my side is Burglar Russell again, just being like, "Oh, okay,
oh yeah,
I'll have both of
And
these
through
spots."
goes Russell.
Didn't get quite the same reaction, did it? As,
Crofty didn't really react the same way.
Buying the Hamilton overtake on Wish.
Yeah. You've got it on the from a street market.
Yeah. Absolute par market purchase.
Nice reference.
Yeah, it's the rip-off version.
Sure, that reference will be understood by approximately 3 people.
They're all on this call.
My moment of the race, though, has to be Lando Norris in the last couple of laps, desperately trying to make overtakes for absolutely no reason. There was absolutely zero chance that he was ever going to get in the points because of that 5-second penalty, but he was still making moves because he wanted to. Esteban Ocon, I'm going to try and go around the outside of you into the hairpin. Has it ever been done in the history of F1? Probably not. Going to give it a go anyway. And then, obviously, into the last corner as well, he gave that a go. The move he planted on Piastri was disgustingly beautiful early on in the Grand Prix to get past there. And he had another one as well, didn't he? Into the same corner.
Isn't it into turn one? He did Hulkenberg around the outside.
Yeah.
And we're doing visor cam.
Yeah.
Filthy.
It was off. I needed a bath.
Yeah,
it was that dirty.
He actually had one.
I did.
He was by himself trying to elevate the Grand Prix, and I loved it.
He started braking for the hairpin. I mean, he sent it from New York.
Yeah,
that's how far back he was.
No one was braking that late into that hairpin. Just Norris
but
all
you
afternoon.
could clearly make it work. Why wasn't anyone doing it?
Yeah, weird. Well, I thought you were going to say something else, Ben, but honourable shout out, and you've already mentioned it, to George Russell's team radio once again.
It's bent, mate.
It's bent.
Bit Ben.
Bit Ben. Bit Ben.
I'll get on with it though.
It's okay.
He was all right.
Oh,
wasn't
I
he?
go
Until he wasn't.
stuck at the back forever.
That's what the three of us have to say. But what do our Discord submitters have to say, Harry Eid?
Well, let me tell you, Ben. Hang on, let me just scroll to the top.
Who's up first?
Who is up first? Right, up first. Thank you, everyone. There are a lot of these today. Up first, and we've not heard from this person for a while. Or
Ryle.
Oh, nice.
Roll.
Is Rye Guy.
The Right Honourable Rye Guy.
Hey guys, it's Rye Guy. This is my moment of the race. My moment of the race is Esteban Ocon's wing deciding to go boom. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Love what you guys do. Keep on keeping on. Keep breaking late. And join the Patreon. Love you guys. Bye.
Is that Snoop Dogg?
Love you, Rygo.
Isn't that Jason Derulo who sings
I
that song?
think Snoop Dogg features on the record.
All right.
Just a little bit.
Doing God's work as ever, Rye Guy. Next up, Hazza, featuring Northern George.
Right, boys, it's Return of the Northerner. George, what was your moment of the race?
It must be Magnussen and Sonoda trying to reverse
The
out
race.
of the runoff area, like me trying to reverse out of as the car park.
Cheers, boys.
If you've never reversed out of Asda car park, it can be a nightmare.
Why is anyone
Remind me never
reversing
to go
out
to an
there?
Asda near this guy.
That's true. You also, I'm only meant to reverse out of your space, not out of the whole car park.
Come on, Northern George. Cheers for that, Hazard. Well, sorry. Cheers for that, George. Next up is a first-timey. Another first-timey.
First timey! We love ya!
This is from Deacon Lincoln.
Hey, this is Deacon Lincoln. I'm a first-time submitter. Recently started listening to the podcast. Love it. Recently started watching F1. Love it.
Thanks.
Huge Fernando Alonso fan. So
Love it.
my moment for the race was the overtake of Hamilton. It was a thing of beauty. All right, guys. Love it. Keep up the good work. Out.
Thanks, Deacon Lincoln. We never saw that coming, did we? We watched that overtake. We were like, whoa, he's gone for the move.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't even mention it. Lovely little move that
Was
from,
a good move down the
Fernando.
inside of the
Tasty.
Hall of Champions.
Another weekend. No one's hit it.
No, was it? Well, Gasly, very close.
Very
Right.
close.
11 centimetres.
Not a champion.
Next up, this time I'll get it right. Madalena.
Well done.
Hi guys, it's Madalena, a second-time submitter. My moment of the race for the Canadian GP is definitely the graphic of telling us that Gasly was 11 centimeters from the wall. I didn't think it was that boring of a race that we need to know that Gasly almost touched the wall but didn't. Yeah, I thought that was pretty hilarious.
I love that graphic. I want that graphic for so many other things.
Very close
Trying
to
to reverse
losing
out of
my...
Asda car park.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Madalena. If you keep doing submissions, which we obviously hope you do, please keep counting.
Yeah, please.
This is my third submission.
Yeah, this is my 473rd submission.
23rd time. Here we go.
Next up is Jiri Pavlenka. Again, sorry if we've said that. I've said that wrong.
I can say I ain't saying nothing.
Good.
Wow, we finally had a pretty good race. There's a few good moments, such as Max hitting the bird or the final lap with Ocon and Norris. I'm going to go for De Vries's online lobby-esque move. We've all had it where someone doesn't race perfectly clean and then you crash into them on the next corner as revenge. Also, seeing them trying to get out of the escape road was pretty funny. I'll also say that Ted Kravitz was a bit of an arse today because he kept saying just because Lando was a nice guy that he didn't deserve his penalty, but he probably should have had two.
Oh, what was the second one for?
For, I don't know, being a naughty boy.
Oh, that chin hair that he's got going on is what he deserves a penalty for.
Yeah, that's true.
Shocking.
Disqualifiable. Next up is Kibler and Bits
Kibbles and
with
biscuits.
some lovely audio quality. So thank you, Kibler
Enjoy
and
this.
Bits.
Crisp.
What's up, late breakers? It's Kibler and Bits coming to you live
Better than
on
ours.
this fine American Father's Day. And my moment of the race was trying to explain to my dad, who has never seen a Formula One race in his life, the significance of the P2 battle between Hamilton and Alonso, looking over and seeing him dead asleep on the couch. Clearly, he was riveted, but I really enjoyed this race, so we're going to take it as a win. I hope y'all are having a great Sunday, and I love you all so much. Okay, bye.
If you have a dad, you are a dad, or you know of a dad. Hope you have a great day.
You have know of a dad.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, that's proper got me. Man. Do you know a dad?
Happy Father's Day to you. If you know a dad.
If you know a dad.
to everyone, then basically.
Yeah. All dad.
All encompassing. I've just realised as well what I've written down who we're playing, and I've already shortened Kibble and Bits to Kibs.
Kibs.
I don't know if you're happy with
Can't
that, but
Kibster.
that's what that's what's happened. Another first time he accidentally sent 2 in, but
that's okay.
We won't play the first.
2's better than none.
Technically, it's double.
It's not.
Sorry. Save Leclerc 16.
Hey everyone, I'm here to save Leclerc from Ferrari prison with my first ever submission for the Canadian GP. And my moment of the race has to be Ferrari pulling out an absolute miracle on the strategy. I'll be honest, I had absolutely no faith in them. Anyway, bye. I love the podcast.
Speaking of that, if anyone would like to see free Leclerc merch, we are considering doing a limited edition run.
Haven't run this past Ben yet, but probably going to happen.
Yeah, I might make something.
All funds will go directly to the Save Leclerc charity.
You know those Donkey Sanctuary videos? Can we do one for Save Leclerc?
I'll get back. Giving that one to you.
No.
Thank you everyone.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a minute.
It
smells like.
Can I just say as well? Obviously, Beef gets lots of nicknames.
Yeah.
And she often does a poll now to decide which one should be this week's nickname. How Freddie Beef hasn't beaten Boom Boom Beef.
I'm annoyed that Freddie Beef didn't get
I'm fuming at that.
I was quite happy with Freddie Beef.
Freddie Beef, top
Freddie
tier.
Beef was the best one, and everyone voted for Boom Boom Beef. Anyway, speaking of beef, here
smells like beef.
Stop doing that. Awful.
Why so spicy?
Hello, life update. My car is still in the garage, so I don't know if it's costing me a lot of money. I hope not.
Beef.
Hopeful beef.
Moment of the race was so Una came round to watch with me and Miranda. So my moment of the race was Una absolutely losing her mind when Lando was behind Bottas, couldn't get past Bottas. Then on like his second pit stop or whatever, come back out behind Bottas. So that was super fun. Pretty dull race. Where are we off next, lads? Is it Austria?
Yes.
Usually a banger, isn't it? Okay, bye.
You know when you're with friends and you all think that something's really, really funny, and then you explain it to people outside of your friendship group, and it's just not funny.
That's everything we
say. This podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Beef's just done that.
Interesting. Start podcast then.
Have fun, Beef.
Una Beef. I vote this week. Una Beef.
Yeah. Fair.
That makes no sense.
It's not Broke Beef.
I'm with you.
Not Broke.
Broke Beef Mountain.
Right.
No.
Before we go, quick shout. I heard a few people on submissions.
Yuki!
No, Yuki. You're all a favour.
Quick shout.
Get back in the hall.
Sorry.
That's so done. You heard a few people what then?
Hey, a few people on submissions say that it was a good race. Beef there said it wasn't a very good race. Out of 10, Harry?
7.5.
Whoa!
Sam?
6.5.
Go in the middle, 7.
My standards are very hard to beat.
Unless everything is on fire, I don't think Sam actually likes the F1.
I need at least 7 cars to crash. To enjoy a
Sam's
race.
actually Bernie Ecclestone.
Also,
where are the sprinklers?
Should we? Oh no, we don't do it in this one. Never mind. Carry on.
No, what were you going to say? Keep it in.
I was going to say, should we shout out the Fantasy League? Because we haven't done that for a while, but it doesn't matter now.
It's coming in the next episode.
I think I've done it.
Did you do it in the preview?
I forgot once, but I think I've done it every time.
Oh, done
Yeah, and we'll get it in the midweek.
Yeah.
No, Gasly and Hulkenberg didn't do very well. Might not want to. Anyway. Let's get out of this, Sam.
Yeah, thanks for listening, folks. Sorry it's been a bit wet and wild, and you've got a mention of Talisa and Indubs in there. That was I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry.
And Gary Barlow.
And Gary Barlow.
And Lisa.
So much has happened. It's flown by. 3T Sam is having a great time with this. Join the Discord. There is nearly 2,000 people in the Discord. We're about 100 people away from that, which is pretty amazing to think that's grown so much. So, you know, if you want more chat, more F1, more live talk, get in there. We've also got Patreon. So if you want more content, we've recorded Beer Breaking for the month. Terrible as always.
Yeah.
Not good. Good. That's the consensus. That's the top tier. So, you're really getting your money's worth if you pay for that one, and we do appreciate every single person that already does. There's also, you get 2 extra episodes that come out every single month. We've already done one of those as well.
That's out tomorrow, Monday
night. It's a good one as well. I thought me and Ben, Harry didn't turn up. Me and Ben had a good time.
Couldn't be asked.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't remember anything about it, but I'm sure it was great.
I got very angry at Haas again.
Oh, yeah. We really laid into Haas.
Yeah, we got
There's
heated.
A great segment late faking.
Oh, yeah, me on my own.
All I will say is Luigi the Fast Man. And you'll have to join the Patreon to know what that's about.
Patreon, you're in for a treat on that one. If you want to follow our social media, it's at Late Breaking F1 across the board.
There's 3, baby, there's 3. TikTok, Insta, and Twitter.
Yeah, that's the 3 we're talking about.
What should we do with our Facebook?
Who gives a crud about Facebook?
Who's on Facebook?
Well, we are.
I'll talk about Facebook when I'm dead.
Cool.
Anyway, Sugar's Midweek, where we're back. Obviously, is it Austria next week?
No,
we just got.
We're at Glastonbury.
Oh yeah, we're doing a midweek, and then me and Harry are off to Glastonbury to party.
But it'll be all 3 of us on both episodes.
Yeah, don't worry. You're still getting a midweek, and you're still getting a Sunday episode, and then we're going to be again back the week after for the Austria preview. So plenty of great content coming your way. June's looking like a lovely month. Hope you're having a great time. In the meantime, I've been Samuel Sage.
I've been Ben Hocking.
And I have been Harry Eade.
And remember, keep breaking late.
Might have another cup of tea.